Hi, welcome to another episode of your favorite FX PhD podcast. And in this podcast, as I love to do every month, I do a trade recap of all the trades I took in the month of July. And as you can see, I think I did not get my aim, which is to get a 10% on the records, but I noticed on my account, on some of the accounts I'm trading, some of them I got the 10%, which is quite good, except for one account, which eventually I had to close it on, the overall target, which is 2RR, which is about 4%, which it's not bad really, but because I tried to get 10%, I think for the month of June and July was my one of the down times I've had with my strategy, and for the month of February. And this is me being plain to show you what I've been doing. And I think recently I think my psychology too has been the here and there, because my strategy is quite limited to just this pair. I think I understand the CADJPY better, and so but I've been looking at if there's a way I could trade more pairs, but it is what it is. I think I'm still better than many traders because I had my first payout on my FXify account, which I'm using to purchase another account, another 50k challenge on another prop firm. So I hope that the next couple of months will be better, such that I would start a 50k challenge, which that's the plan. And also on the account I'm flipping, last month I missed out on the flip, so this month I just moved it from about $200 to about $400. And all of this, I have proofs of all of this. I'm just trying to be plain. And I'm taking it a step at a time. And I hope, if I do this consistently for years, I should be going home with a bit of good profit eventually. So without much ado, let's go straight into the chart. So I would explain, how I made the trades, how I took the trades, some things I could have avoided, if I was, if I had the influence of other strategies, as we say. But again, I just want it to be as simple as possible, which sometimes affects me because I feel I should go with doing top-down analysis, looking at the trend and stuff like that. But it is what it is. I think the strategy, if I can even make 2% monthly, probably what I just need to do is to scale up. And then I noticed also that the highest I've seen of the consequent losses I've had is about 4 straight losses in a row, which is still good. There are strategies that you have 10 losses in a row and stuff like that, but I've just had 4, between 4 and 5. I've not seen a 6 before, which that's why I risk about 2% on on all. That's the minimum I risk on my accounts. I don't do 0.5%, neither do I do 1%. Yes, I know I'm talking so much. So yeah, let me hop onto the chart to show you how I took the trades, as usual on the pair I use. So this I love to journal on my chart, so I left the trades I took. So let's start from the first day. I think the very first day there was no trade here. The first trade was on the 2nd of July. I marked out the zone, so I'll just go into the 2nd of July and 2024, and I marked out this zone. I think we have all of the stops here. Yes, so yeah, this was a trade I missed in June, which I showed in my last month, the recap. And so this was the very first trade. All my rules were followed. If you notice, we tapped into the zone. I had it hadn't gotten to 33%, so I had the fair value gap here. And so with this, I got in here, and that was my first loss. So I took the first loss on all my accounts. There was no trade on the 3rd of July. And then we got to the 4th of July. I think, why did I take this trade? I think this was, okay, it was a sell. Let's go back to the higher time frame, which I use. Let me see. Why did I take the trade? Okay, yes. So I see why. So this was the 4th. Yes. So I had these two this week tapped in here. So I'll just I don't want to delete this, but probably I'll put this in another color. So this was the zone that I used. And so the next trade on that day, and besides, I also passed a challenge, another 50k account, but I was just working with some of the people in my group. So they passed the 50k challenge on that particular trading account. So if you notice, it tapped into the zone. I think the zone came down and we had this move. So I think I got in here. Yep, I got in here at the fair value gap here. This was where I got in. I put in the stop loss just above the blue zone, and so notice how the market came in, tapped in and went low and hit the TP. So with hitting the take profit, that was the second trade, which was a good trade. So usually after this trade, I was just looking for a really good trade and I did not get one. So I think the next trade was on the 9th. Yep, the same way. Again, what are the rules? If it's not up to 33%, we look out for fair value gap. This was our fair value gap, and so I got in this trade here and the stop loss there, and I lost the trade. So at this point I was just 1 hour positive for the month. And so again, we had this we got into the zone. We've gone into 33% of this zone already. So for this, I just went in at the last up candle and I sold and I had a loss. So at this point, I had lost all the profit I made for the month of July. There was no zone for all of this, so I did not partake in this move. Yep, painful, you can argue, but that is the law, that's the rule. And so I got in on this one. This one was a Friday. Yes, I remember. It was a Friday. Now for this particular trade, it tapped in, but the issue I had was this was way beyond 40 pips. This was about 54 pips. So normally I should enter here because this was the zone, very small zone. But just to reduce the 40 pips, I put it at about 31 pips and I entered about that. So this was 32 pips stop loss, and it took me out on the Monday morning. Yep. Okay, I think I was in the trade still on Monday. It took me out around this time, which is fine. And so the Tuesday, which was the next day, this was a winning trade. So how did I get into this trade? It tapped into the zone. I'm trying to see how I got into this trade. Please let me just go back to the higher time frame and see what I did. Well, okay, I think, so I had this zone marked. I marked out the zone this way. Yep, I think this was how I marked it out. Or I'm coming. Okay, no, this was how I marked it out. Yeah, this was the way I marked it out, this way. So this one, I think I put it there. Yep, that was how I marked it out. So I'll just go into the 5 minutes time frame. Okay, so yep. I want to be sure. Okay, yeah, this is it. So when I marked it out that way, I was expecting, you can see, so the market, I think this was just a touch. There was a fair value gap here, and so I think I had to enter here because of some issues I had with spread, but usually I got in around this point. So if we use, this was the fair value gap I got in around, and so with this I had a 1, 2, 3. I'll just take, okay, let me leave it there. So I had a 1, 2, 3. That was on the 16th. So at this point, I was looking for one good trade to close the month. The next trade was a loss. How did I get into this one? Let's be very let's look at the methodology. So for this one, you can see I had this 33% marked out. it's, market tapped in. When it tapped in, I think, yes. So when it tapped in, I had a fair value gap here. And when it tapped in here, this was this low sweep of the low. So when it swept the low, and I think it touched it 33%. Yes, it touched it. So I got in here. So I got in for the buy there. And then it took me out for another loss. So I'll be about 2% up for the month. The next day was yet another loss. Quite a month, really. So it was another loss. So here. So this was another loss. I think I had the zone marked out. It took me out. The same principle on how I entered. Then the next morning, this was a zone I marked out. Let me just take this line off. Again, what do we expect? We expect that the highs be taken out, which is this guy. Let me just draw this out. So this was the high. It was taken out. When it was taken out, we had the fair value gap from here. So when it was formed here, let me use this in green so you can see it. So when it formed there, I put in my sell here, because why did I use fair value gaps for this entry? Because it had not taken 33% of this whole zone. It wasn't there yet. So I took it with the sell, and boom, I think this was a weekend trade. Yes, this was a weekend trade, and it hits my take profit. So as at this point, notice I'd gotten 2%. So I was actually looking for just another 2% to make the final 2% or 1% to make like the final gains for the month. Now this was quite an interesting part. So I was just looking for 2% here on the account, but on some of my accounts, I think I had not taken, so probably the spread and all of that was quite good. So I was just looking for a 1 to 2.3. So on about 3 of my accounts, all I needed to do was just to get 1%, and so what I did was, because I target 10%. So when, I got 10% on the account I plan to flip, I closed it. On my personal account, I closed it, because every prop firm, FTMO, the target is to get 10%. So if you can do 10% consistently as a trader, you are one of the best on earth. So when I got this, I just closed it out. But I left only one account because I was expecting the account to get to about 1 to 2, such that I can get the 10% on that account. So that was the account, and that's the account I'm going to show. Again, to show transparency, I love to use accounts that probably I did not hit the target, to show you, that it is what it is. And so that was how I lost on this. So on that account, I lost this one. There was no trade the next day. The next day too was another loss, the same strategy. I expected it to come into 33%. It did, and then it gave another loss. This one too had gone up for about 1 to 1.77. Again, I wasn't looking to take that. I was looking for a 1 to 3 now, and so I took a loss there. I think the next one too was a loss. So I had 4 losses just after that win. This one too, the same thing. It had tapped in. I took it in here, took a loss here. Thought this was gonna go there to 1 to 3. I took a loss. I was still quite balanced. I think the 4th loss was this one. So this one too, I had the zone marked out, 38 pips or so. If you notice, the high was taken out. This was the previous high. This was the previous high taken out. And so what did I do? I then waited. I looked at this fair value gap. So but I actually entered here because it had tapped into 33%. So I must actually continue the trade. So I entered there, another loss. That was 4 losses in a row. At this point, I was like, should I continue? I felt okay. It is what it is. I was already minus 2%, which is minus 1 RR on the account. And then the last trade of the month, which was earlier today because I'm recording in real time. And so I can see it tapped into 33%. I took in the trade here. And then it went for a 1 to 3. I used the 28 pips, mind you, for this one. And it went to a 1 to 3. Immediately it was done. It continued the move to the downside. So this is why I tell people, please set your targets and try to wait for it. I don't take partials and none of that. So if you see on the account, I'm currently 4% up on a $10,000 account. That shows that I got 2 RR, as you know, is going to be shown in the video. So this is just the way I trade. Sometimes I feel like, probably from my previous knowledge on order block, fair value gaps, liquidity and all of those things, there are some trades I might not want to take because I know it might not go my way, but I want to keep it as simple as it can be and trust that the risk to reward and the winning rates would eventually even out. So I'll do this again for, let's say, I started September last year. I'll try to see if I can continue to, I know I started documenting on YouTube in January, so I'll try to see if I can continue to January next year. Let's see how much of profits I can make. Then probably I'll review if I need to, or if I'll just stick to this and continue for, the rest of my trading career. Till the next video again, thank you for watching. If you want to look at the other months, you could check somewhere around the video. You would have videos, my trade recap for other months. I'm not teaching for now. I don't know if I will do that later on, but for now, I think I'll just stick to trading as much as I can. You can also check our podcast where we discuss family, graduate school issues, and many other things, which we hope to bring good content to you guys. Till the next video, stay profitable, stay on the strategy. I'm sure if you do this, we all would aim towards becoming better, making more money. Till the next video, have a good one. Bye.